Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Rainmakers Roundup. I am your host, Mark Iorio, and today I have with me the president of the A-Team Consulting, Dominick Bencivenga, and that is exactly how you pronounce that name. So, Dominick,
Well done.
welcome to the program. I will say I didn't realize this. Congratulations on the Inc. Best Workplaces in 2024. That's pretty cool.
Thank you very much. We've done that 2 years in a row. We're very proud of it.
Good for you. That's quite an accomplishment. I don't know if people realize that. That's not an easy thing to get. But yeah, it's great to have you on the program. Talk a little bit about the A team. I really admire what you're doing.
So at our core, we are an accounting services firm. We're providing financial and accounting advice to small business owners and not-for-profits nationwide.
Mhm.
We do that in the form of fractional CFOs, bookkeepers, and controllers. So think of the role that a CFO, a bookkeeper, a controller would play in any business, and just take it on a fractional basis. You need us one day a week, one day a month, whatever it might be. And very often we put teams of people together. So we'll bring together a controller and a bookkeeper on an account. Work in all industries nationwide.
And you started it quite a while ago, and even though that you're currently the president of the A Team Consulting, you didn't found the company, but kind of morphed into what you were doing prior to that, right? And talk a little bit about your background because I think that's pretty interesting as well.
Sure. So Mark, I started a very similar firm in 1996.
Yeah.
August 1st, 1996, I put up a shingle. I became a consultant. This was after a 12-year career at Citibank in New York, in the New York retail bank, all in the retail branch business, which was an exciting time. But I was ready to leave corporate America. And all I knew is I knew small business. I knew from being a branch manager, I knew small business. So I just started doing financial projections, business plans. I was doing loan brokering, all sorts of things that were helping small businesses. And over a few years, it morphed into being a fractional CFO. Back then, the term wasn't even existing. I called myself a part-time CFO. So from 96 until 2013, I had a company I had called Freelance Financial. And that was my own business. I had a couple of freelance people working with me as bookkeepers, and went to meet my current partner, Ted Drittel. We had worked together early in the 2000s and just said, looking for some new opportunities. I have a 2-day-a-week client that's going away. And he said, I think I could fill that as long as you're willing to go Hoboken, New Jersey. And I said, I've never been to Hoboken. Let's go. And that client, ironically, I was for 11 years. It ended at the very end of last year. So from the very beginning of 13, when I joined Ted, I was a fractional CFO, part-time CFO for this client for 11 years.
Wow.
And then Ted and I subsequently had a lunch. We talked about bringing our businesses together. We merged our practices in 2013. The A Team itself was founded in 2001 by my partner, Ted Drittel.
Yeah. You mentioned being a branch manager at Citibank and Citi, and yeah, it's got to be one of, if not the best training grounds for understanding how people run a business, how they work, and kind of you're inside the inner circle in a sense, Dominick, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I was very, very blessed to be there. I look at my career in three arcs. I had my schooling at NYU, and particularly in business school, they taught me a way of thinking. That's what I look at, what I learned there. A lot of it was Wall Street focused. I did not go in that direction, but I taught a way of thinking. Then Citibank gave me the application of how to do that in the real business sense. And I had exposure. I was in the era when they wanted well-rounded people. So it wasn't the siloed careers.
Right.
So I had finance work. I was in the marketing department. I was a chief of staff twice. Ultimately wound up going into a sales support role, and then finally a branch manager role where I had my own P&L and I was running a business out in Long Island for 5 years.
Yeah.
Tremendous training ground, and it really did help me a lot. And it was one of my very early on marketing points that I've learned a lot about big business at Citibank, but I could apply that to your business. And it really did work. People were really saying, that's great. Let's work together.
Yeah. I think the banking industry is funny. I mean, obviously we want to get into the A Team and how you're helping organizations, but retail banking is an interesting kind of an interesting animal. I always thought that the frontline associates, the branch not just the branch managers, but the tellers, in fact, were huge in getting people to understand that not everyone runs a business the way they ought to run a business. And, there's so many nuances. I've been doing this show for almost 8 years. And it's ironic to me, Dominic, how many business leaders shy away from financials and understanding financials. They turn it over to it's like, I'm going to pass the baton over to my accountant, over to my chief financial officer or my controller, accounts payable manager, whatever it might be. I'm not paying attention to the profit and loss and the balance sheet and the trial balance and the cash flow statements and so on. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, I get a little sad when I hear somebody say, "Well, the only way I know my numbers is at the end of the year. My
Yeah,
accountant pulls it together."
yeah,
To me, that's not running your business, and that's a recipe to go out of business because first of all, on the downside, if you're starting to go and you don't know it soon enough, you can go right out of business. But on
yeah,
the upside, you don't know where you got your opportunities. Maybe you could do something a little bit better and take what's going to be a 5% growth year up to a 20% growth year because you could have made some tweaks during the year.
right.
So I believe in monthly financials. You got to be looking at it, and you have to be looking at it against the plan, just not looking at it like where do I want to be this year, and how do I
Yeah.
want to be against that? And now I've got some barometers. So we love KPIs, we love dashboards, we love to put those together and help businesses then understand them in very good ways. And there are many, many more tools now than there were just even 5 years ago that make that a whole lot easier for business owners.
Yeah, when in our consulting practice, one of the things that we find often is, and this is a shock, and it probably doesn't come as a surprise to you that there's so many organizations that are fairly substantial. I'm not talking about $2, $3 million businesses. I'm talking about 20, 25, $30 million businesses that really don't have the data at their fingertips that they need to make the decisions to grow the business. So when it comes to accounting software, when it comes to the KPIs and understanding, deeply understanding the metrics behind making a rational decision about growing the business, adding a staff member, et cetera. What are the suggestions? What's the process that the A team, brings an organization through to understand that?
The first step is always quality of your financial reports. Like we have to be sure you can put anything into a dashboard. I can get anything in, but if I'm putting garbage in, I'm getting garbage out, right? So I need to make sure that our team will come in and get those numbers the way we want them to be. They don't have to be GAAP. Most of our clients are not audited. I call
Right,
it modified GAAP. We get you 98% of the way there. The reason is for me to get the other 2% done costs way too much money for you. It's not
right.
worth it. There's no return on it. So quality financials first. Then it's what measurements are the ones that really drive your business. So we can easily put a P&L up. We could put a balance sheet up. Most business owners don't understand a balance sheet, but a P&L against, profit and loss against a budget or a plan, first step. But then the drivers, what are your leading indicators and your lagging indicators that are going to drive that? Is it the number of sales? Is it the number of phone calls, if there's a number of visits to your website, whatever those things might be, which are not financial data, but we want to start to measure that in there, and then just start to present it. And it's a very organic process because what we'll do on day one will look very different than what we're going to do 1 year later because it's going to
Yeah,
improve and get better. We as a team, the business owner and their team and our team are going to get it better and better.
right. As you've been doing this a long time, as have I, and one of the things that is surprising to me, and I'm wondering from your vantage point as the president of the A team, what are the surprises that occur when you're initially walking into a prospect or a new client, brand new client, just signed an agreement with a client? What are some of the surprises that you see out there that business leaders need to think about as they're watching you and I talk about this? Those little you talk about KPIs. A lot of people don't even know how to measure a key performance indicator.
Sure.
What are some of those big surprises that you see out there, Dominic?
I think the first thing is we've already touched upon. I don't understand what's going on in my finances. I'm running this business. You own this business. You don't understand your numbers. I think the second is not knowing what your team is doing. One of the main reasons we get hired is because the business owner doesn't know how to manage their finance team, no matter what level they're at, whether it be a controller, an accounting manager, or their office manager. You're speaking, they believe you're speaking in a different language, and I don't know how to handle that. And there's some anxiety around that.
Mhm.
Um, the other one is very outdated software. So I'm using QuickBooks 19, QuickBooks 2000. It doesn't sound too old, but in today's world, it's pretty old. And one way to know that is QuickBooks doesn't support anything prior to 2021 anymore. There's just no support for it,
Right.
particularly on the desktop side. So,
Yeah.
and then are you making this movement towards trying to do things in the cloud and using the softwares? Now, QuickBooks Online is their approach to going their cloud, but it's not the only accounting software you could do. But the beauty of putting it in the cloud is in your other systems, whether you have an ERP system or you're using HubSpot or you're using Salesforce, you're using other systems, you could start to talk now to your accounting system, and those things could lead into the KPIs. So the
Yeah.
data you might have could be in HubSpot or Salesforce, but you also have data in QuickBooks, and you marry those two, and you'll start to get to do that. Um, the last thing I would say that surprises me is just a lack of an understanding. A really good business owner I meet has a very good gut feel.
Mhm.
I have a funny story about this. This one guy told me this, old school kind of business guy, and he had a bookkeeper, and it was a prospective client, and he had a book. And he says, I don't trust anything they say. Everything's right here in my book. And he literally was writing down all of his numbers. And in his business, it was remarkable. He was like 95% accurate. But most business owners can't do that, right? So they got a gut feel, and I've proven many, many times your gut feel is wrong. You think you're not losing money, but you are, and sometimes the other way around. You think you're
Right.
losing money, but you're really not.
Yep.
So it there's just if you talk to anybody in the profession, there's a right way to do things. There's just a right way. There's many different ways for us to get at it, but there's a right way to do accounting. And if you do it right, the answers will come out of that. And when those answers come out of that, then you'll know the truth. And I think living with blinders might be the surprise that I see that many of these business owners do live with blinders.
Yeah.
They just don't see the truth of what's really going on in their business.
Well, you may not like the truth. You may not like it. You may not like what you see, but at least it's accurate, and you can make the right decisions about where to go next. And that's obviously very critical to running a business successfully. When the A team goes in, when you go in, A team consulting goes into an organization, do you find yourself spilling over from finance and accounting into other areas of the business? And how do you handle it? I mean, you mentioned a few minutes ago, are people going to the website? Are you getting lead generation? I hope you talked about HubSpot. How do you drive revenue? So it's the one thing I want people to understand, Dominick, is that it's not just about finance and accounting, right?
Right. So there's the bean counting function, right? There is getting the accurate financial reports.
Yeah.
And when our team goes in we don't call them bookkeepers, our teams are called staff accountants.
Mm-hmm.
So if a staff accountant goes in or a staff accountant and a controller, that's their primary role. Their primary role is to get the general ledger and your financial reporting accurate. What you started to get into, Mark, a little here is where the CFO steps into play, where you
Mm-hmm.
start to interact if they have a management team, where the salespeople are, where the operations people are, where are the costs that are bleeding a little bit in the company, where are the drivers, what more? Because one of the things I also want to know is answer the question. I got 10,000, I got 100,000, I got 500,000 cash sitting around. What shall I do with it, right? If I've got that good situation, I need to understand some of the things to say, here's where the investment probably could pay off best. Let's look into it further.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the core things we're involved with right now is I've got cash sitting around. Most inclinations for business owners to take the cash back.
Yeah.
Right. Put it in my pocket. It's not always the right answer.
No, it's not, because you don't know if you owe taxes. There are other liabilities out there that you've
We'll
got to
always
deal with, right?
we always have to factor first your tax bill.
Exactly. All right, let's take a quick commercial break. We will be right back, folks. Don't go away. We've got more with Dominick Bencivenga, president of the A-Team Consulting, right after this message from our sponsors. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Rainmakers Roundup. I'm your host, Mark Iorio, and I have with me today Dominick Bencivenga. Dominick is the president of the A-Team Consulting. Lots of interesting conversation this morning. Dominick, when you so we've talked a lot about how the A-Team sort of goes in and what you're looking for and how you're helping organizations. And just to understand a little bit more deeply, are you actually you're partnering up with CPA firms to help compile the information at the end, or how does that typically work with your clients?
Yeah, so very often our role with the CPA is very complementary. We are supporting and giving them the numbers they need, whether it be on a quarterly basis for tax planning or an annual basis to do tax returns.
Okay.
Ideally, we really have a strong partnership that goes beyond that, where we're also in an advisory role with the business owner, the CPA, and us, or a business coach. I'd like to be in that triad of 3, 4 of us, where we will have meetings and talk about things strategically, because there are many different angles to making decisions, right? It's not just financial, and it's just not tax. And sometimes it has a personal thing. And is the goal of the business, I'm running this business for another 15 years, or I'm going to maximize value over the next 3 to 5 because I want to sell the business.
Exactly.
Different motivations, different strategies. So with CPAs are really a partner with us for sure, but we meet them where they're at. We meet a client as a brand new client. They have a CPA. Very often, though, we're hearing, you're going to have to help me with that CPA. I'm not getting what I need. And we bring that. We just know so many quality CPAs that we recommend that we start that process if we're asked. We don't do that if we're not. If everybody's happy with their CPA, that's fine.
That's fine. Right. Exactly. You and I look back on our careers sometimes, and you wonder whether or not you would do anything different, or you would change anything. And a lot of the times, when I ask that question on the show, most people say no. They are where they are because of what they know and what they've learned. What do you think? Would you change anything?
I would agree with that everything that had happened during my career made me who I am. And that's a very, very important thing, whether that be in life or in my business career. I probably would have looked to make the partnership with Ted sooner. It really has been very good for us. Ted really is very good at the difference between the two partners is he runs the business. So you hear the term, are you in your business? Or are you working on your business? He works on the business. We don't need two of us to do that. Yeah. And my strength is working in the business. My strength is doing client work. This is where I love it. I love that more than working on our business. So I'm very much involved in the strategic decisions and kept abreast, but I'm a billable hour consultant, and I'm doing that every single day for my clients. Yeah. I was struggling a little bit when I had my own consulting firm, trying to do all of those things. Mm. So the decision I made in 2013, I wish I had made a little sooner.
Yeah. Talk about that relationship with the client. What is it about that gets you charged up in the morning? Where's the passion for doing what you do to help others achieve the goals that they're achieving has to be pretty gratifying.
It is, because I love serving. To me, it's all about service. You hear that word in different ways, but to me, I do it within my work every single day. So I know I have a particular skill set that I'm very good at, and I can manage a team of my people to achieve results that most business owners before they hired us haven't been able to get on their own. So ideally, we take away a problem they've been having, turn it into an opportunity, and then collectively work on getting them to a bigger path. The client I mentioned earlier, I've been 11 years. I started with them. They were $4 or $5 million company. I ended there with 35 million in revenue.
Wow.
So they had tremendous growth. I was not responsible for all that growth, but I was there as part of the team that did that. And it was largely the same management team for the most part. And it was a very, very satisfying experience to be part of.
Yeah. When clients rely on you to for advice, and they actually take the advice. I think that's another piece that I think is probably just as gratifying for someone like you, right? Because
Fully agree. Yeah.
when you talk about the word serve and serving others, I think people, not everyone's like that, Dominic. They're looking for maybe their own satisfaction rather than serving others first, and that's that's a,
You know, I learned a long time ago, and my partner and I are aligned on this. If we're serving our clients well, then all of the money just follows in place.
of course.
It's not a matter of getting this as focused on how do we turn this into a $10 million business, and then
Right.
all you're focused in is money related to billing a client. It's
Yeah.
about getting the work done. That's the most important thing. And doing it right, everything follows.
Absolutely. It always does, which is why you become, the best workplaces in, on the Inc. list. I mean, that's great. Remarkable 2 years in a row. Think about, so when you have new staff members come on, right? And you have openings for opportunities. When new folks come aboard, whether they went to Stern or whether they went to wherever they went, right, to college, but they're young, what advice do you typically give them? I mean, it's really interesting to see a youngster who's really interested and exciting and energetic and so on. But sometimes you have to temper that enthusiasm. But what advice do you typically give them?
Mostly communicate, communicate, communicate.
Yeah.
We live in a world in our business where it could get pretty siloed. Like you might be handling your client. We're in a virtual world. You don't have any water cooler talk anymore. You can't walk around an office and talk to us. And you're off doing work. And during any given day, you might work with 2 or 3 different clients, depending upon your workload.
Mhm.
But if you're running into problems, you've got to reach out. You've got to talk to somebody on our team and say, I've got an issue, and I need you to help me either process it or perhaps even help me fix it.
Yeah.
It could be a client related issue. It could be I can't figure out how to do this. I've been asked to do this. It's one of the things I love doing too for the staff is getting that, hey, Dominic, have you seen this before? 95% of the time, the answer is yes. After doing this for 30 years, I've got it. I've seen it before. And then when I don't go back to them and say no. I just figure it out. Like I just go and figure out how to do it. Now, sometimes it's asking an accountant. Sometimes it's asking a lawyer or another colleague of mine, right? Might call up Mark. I said, I've never seen this before. What do you think about this? But I find it as the leader, one of the leaders of the company, it's always important for us to get that answer for our employees.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I love the idea of, continuing to communicating properly is also a challenge in today's world. How do I communicate? And, especially in a virtual environment, keeping, and you and I talked about this months ago, but keeping the culture of the organization aligned with who
Yep.
you are as a team, that brand promise that the A team makes to the world, and delivering on that consistently is really important as well. So that's great, and I know you do it. I know you do that, and I know the team does that. As you look at the people in your life that have inspired you, or what inspires you as a person each day. I get this feeling already in talking to you, not just here, but in the past. You said you're very blessed with the things that you've been given in terms of this business and your life. What inspires you? What are the things that inspire Dominick Bencivenga?
I have a real great faith in, we'll call it the higher power of God, and just believing we're part of a bigger, bigger, bigger picture, and that I'm just a humble little servant here. So to me, that makes a big difference. I get inspired by my children. I have 3 adult children. Each of them have pets, and particularly the dogs. To me, there's a very little famous dog with my life partner. His name is Petey. He's just an inspiration the way he goes around his little life.
Yeah.
And finally, nature. It wasn't something growing up that I did a lot of, even in my younger adult years, but in my 50s and now into my 60s, just going on a hike. And I'm blessed to live on Long Island, so there's just some beautiful places to just go out on a preserve and just be amongst nature for a couple of hours. And that
Yeah,
it all leads to inspiration and keep me recharged.
that's great. Well, you're certainly a blessing to so many people, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you taking time today to talk to us about the A team and the work that you're doing out there and the life that you're leading, Dominic.
Thank you, Mark. I
You're
appreciate the
welcome.
opportunity to be here.
You're very welcome. Please tell the folks that are watching how to get in touch with you and the A team.
Sure. So it's ateamconsulting.com. And I am D Bencivenga, the letter D, and last name Bencivenga at ateamconsulting.com.
Great. And you're on LinkedIn and
I'm on LinkedIn. They will find me there very prominently and easy to find.
that's
There's a
great.
few Dominick Bencivengas out there, but you'll see there's only one at the A team.
Just spell it right. Exactly. So thanks, Dominic. Appreciate it very much.
Have a good day.
You too. Folks, thanks so much for joining us on Rainmakers Roundup. Check out Dominic on the A Team Consulting. We'll see you next time. Have a wonderful week.